Alright, so we've made our skeleton for our skeleton. I really got to start differentiating between what's our actual joint skeleton, what's our mesh skeleton. Okay, anyway, so before we start the next part, I really want to stress the importance of having our joints, for the most part, rotated in the right way. Before we start building our rig, we got to make sure our joints bend in a natural direction along the y-axis. So if you haven't done that, go in and make sure that your knee bends and the green axis this way and all that good stuff. So double check that if you haven't right now. Trust me, it'll save you a lot of headaches in the end, and save you from having to start your work over. There's not too much room for mistakes when rigging. So what we're going to do now is hopefully this will be a short chapter. I don't foresee it being too crazy. We're going to go in and parent or bind our bones to our joints here, our model to our joints. So what we'll do is we'll unlock my skeleton so I can still select it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select my pelvis and then select my model pelvis. Make sure we're in animation. I'm going to go to skin, bind skin, and we'll go to rigid skin and make sure you select selected joints. And I think this will do it. So we hit apply. So if we move my pelvis comes with it. Make sure you have selected joints selected, otherwise it's going to not do what we want it to do. And all the rest of the settings should be pretty good. Alright, so we'll just kind of keep this window open. I'll kind of bring it over here a little bit off screen. That'll be okay. And then I'm going to select my ab bone and just select my whole torso right here. And we'll hit apply. And if you want to test it out, that's fine. Make sure that you undo it. You don't want to leave it over here randomly and then not have enough undos to get it back to the starting position. So if you test out your bones, always make sure you undo it to get it back at the starting position. Alright, and from here we'll just kind of leave all the other bones alone. So I'm going to jump over to my left shoulder, select my left shoulder bone, then actually select my left bone, my left shoulder mesh. We'll hit apply. So if we do this, my shoulder comes with it, and if you'll notice, now my shoulder bone comes with it. Remember, I'm undoing as soon as I test it out. I'll select my elbow joint and then select my forearm over here. I'll hit apply. So now my forearm comes with my elbow. I'm going to select my hand, my wrist joint actually, and select my hand bones, and we'll apply that bind. Looking good. And then it's just a simple matter of chugging, keeping on chugging. So here's my thumb. What is it? Thumb B. Let's just go, and if you have a joint selected and you have this huge outliner, you can just right click anywhere and then go to reveal selected, and it'll unpack it for you. I remember we had set up a thumb A right here, but it's not doing. I've already kind of made our whole arm, my whole wrist, kind of include this other bone we were going to bind. So let's do a little bit of damage control. It's nice to be able to kind of get in and do some damage control if something messes up on you. Alright. Well, I also see that my thumb joint's not in the best position, so I'm going to position it. It's never too late to go back in and make sure things are good. So what I want to do is I'm actually going to delete this last joint here. And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and bring down my thumb A right in position where it should be. I'm not afraid to go back in and correct stuff if I need to. But I am going to make sure that I'm still bending in the right direction and that my joints are still where they need to be. You can kind of get in the shaded mode if you want to see it a little bit better. So we'll just have that one less joint on our thumb chain. Alright, great. I built in a mistake for y'all to do. I'm so good. Alright, but our thumb still looks like it's rotating in the right direction. Alright, so now we just have thumb A, B, and C. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select thumb A. I'm going to select the model mesh right in front of it. And I'm going to apply that. So now my thumb bone comes with it. perfect. Alright, I almost made a mistake. I didn't almost undo it all the way. So I'm going to select my next joint and then select the mesh right in front of it. Hit apply. And there we go. Looks like my thumb's all good to go. There we go. So I'll select my index A, the bone in front of it, hit apply. Index B, the bone in front of it, hit apply. Index C, the bone in front of it, hit apply. And we'll just keep doing it. So it's basically select your bone, your joint, select the mesh in front of it, bone, the mesh in front of it, hit apply, bone, mesh in front of it, hit apply. So now there we go. Looks like the direction's a little bit different. Oh, looks like my bones weren't in the right position. It looks like I have to undo all that work and get it going right. Don't you just love it? It looks like my bones got moved a little bit forward. It's good to kind of have mistakes in here so I can show you how to fix them. I meant to do that. I'm just going to go in and double check their position again. It just goes to show you that you really need to make sure your skeleton's set up in the right manner. Otherwise, you'll just have headaches in the future. And I'm just kind of getting good camera views of it. There we go. Alright, so we'll just do that again real quick. So bone, mesh in front of it, hit apply. Bone, mesh in front of it, hit apply. If nothing else, you'll kind of really get the rhythm for what I'm doing here. Apply, apply, apply. Alright. So there we go. Not bad. Alright, great. So let's just do the same thing over on this side, and I'm just going to blow through it because we should know what I'm doing right now. We're just matching up our joints to the mesh it's affecting. Wrist to hand. And looks like we have to do the same thing over here. Reposition our joints a little bit. And in fact, I have to go and fix that thumb again. No big deal. Pull that back. Pull it over. And we might go to lighting or shading and go to X-ray joints just so we can see my joints a little bit better through my model. It may distract you a little bit. It's whatever you want to do. Just doing work. Make sure I see it from at least 2 different angles to make sure that they're positioned correctly. So I'll look at it from the front, then I'll swing over to the side and make sure it's in there. Alright. I'm happy about that. So we'll take care of the thumb. We'll bind that. We'll rigid bind that. Alright, skeleton's going with it. I'll select my index A, the mesh in front of it. I'll hit apply for this rigid bind skin. Hit apply. And it's getting a little bit hard to select the mesh, so we'll just really focus in on there. Be sure you're not accidentally selecting the wrong bone, because if we bound this mesh to that bone, then we move the whole wrist. It just wouldn't work out. This finger joint wouldn't move the mesh in front of it. And I guess we'll come in here and select that. Alright, and we'll just test this out. Boom. 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 Everything's looking good. The skeleton's going to be moving in no time. Alright, great. Alright, great. And once more, looks like we got everything going. What else do we not have bound? Okay, we gotta take care of the head now. Alright. So what we'll do is we'll take my chest right here and we'll bind it to my neck. In fact, yeah. We'll bind it to my neck so we can actually move my neck bone. We'll take my neck joint and bind it to the head. So when I move my neck, I kind of get my guy looking. What we need to do now is we need to bind my eyes joints to their meshes. So when I move my joints, let's see what's going on here. Just like that. Bind the skin. Alright, we'll fix that later. But for the most part, you know what? I'm just going to do something crazy here. I'm going to take my head bone. I'm going to delete my eyes. And I'll bind my head bone to my eyes. Hopefully. Let me bring back my eyes. What's happening is it doesn't seem to want to rigid bind on an end point right here. So with my eye joints, let's try a different kind of bind. I think a smooth bind would be good here. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to skin, bind skin, and go to smooth bind. And we're going to go to selected joints again. And I think everything else, maybe max influences, set that down to 1. And I think the smooth bind will actually bind these meshes together. And I'll hit apply there. There we go. Rigid bind just didn't like binding a mesh to the end point of a joint. So basically a smooth bind allows you to, for a joint, just to affect vertices rather than the whole mesh. But since we only have one joint selected for the whole mesh, guess what? This single joint here is going to affect all the verts in this eye, and we kind of trick it into working it for us. So now when I select both my eyes, they kind of rotate with us. Alright, cool. We can make him go cross-eyed if we want. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, I'm done playing around, sorry. Alright, so it looks like I'm going to go ahead and lock out my mesh. Looks like we got something going here. Wait a minute, have I bound my legs? Of course I haven't bound my legs. Let's do that, I guess. So let's go down to rigid bind. I'll bring up that rigid bind option right here. And we'll bind my leg bone. Let me unlock my mesh. We're just going down, doing the same thing we've done. And so what we want to do here is we want to take our ankle bone. We want to bind it to the back part of my foot here. We'll take my ball of my joint, the ball of my ball joint here, and we'll actually bind that to the toes. So now my ball point kind of selects my toes, and my ankle controls my whole foot. Let's just do it for the other side now. So I'll select my left hip bone, connect it to my upper leg, left knee or right knee bone to my lower leg here, ankle to the back of my foot, and ball joint to my toes. Alright. Just testing it out now. I think we're good now. So So if I select my root joint, if I move this guy around, every mesh should follow. So now our skeleton is bound, our mesh is bound to our joints. And we're ready to start building our control handles and IK handles and start getting into set driven keys, a few new concepts there, but we should be able to tackle it in the next few chapters, no problem.